Good morning, sixth graders. Welcome to lesson 93 of our math section here. So anyway, what we're going to deal with today is we're going to deal with writing fractions as percent part 2. And I kind of did part 2 when I did part 1. And so it says, since lesson 81 we have practiced changing fractions, and I'm on page 448. Since lesson 81 we have practiced changing fractions to a percent by writing equivalent fractions with a denominator of 100. So what they're saying here is we've had denominators of 100. We know that 5 times something equals 100, which is the same thing what we're saying here, and it makes it easy. But I told you it's not always going to be that easy. Sorry. Because we're going to run into other type of fractions, which is what we're going to look at next. All right, so let me put up the next section here, slide it down to it for you. And again, we're on 449. Now, if you notice, here's the same thing. We have, let's back up. I got too far ahead of myself. We have, the first part is, recall that we multiply in here the fraction by renaming the fraction. So 3/5, we renamed it by multiplying 20 over 20, which equals 60 over 100. Now, if you take a look at the next section, if I go up there, get up there to the top, it says 60 over 100 because you need two decimal places for a decimal, which equals 0.60, which they left out, which equals 60%. You need two place values for writing a percent. You can still do it from there, but again, this is kind of what I've trained you to as far as getting two decimal places for your percent. In this lesson, we'll practice another method of changing a fraction to percent. Since 100% equals one whole, so that means, as I'm saying here, the whole number 1 equals 100%. And what I did before, I said, so if I have two whole, 200%. And so forth. You can see the patterns developing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to in this lesson, we're going to practice the method changing the fraction to a percent. Since 100% equals 1, we may multiply a fraction by 100% to form an equivalent number. Here we multiply 3/5 by 100%. All right, so we have 3/5, and I'm just bringing it over here so you can see better. 3/5, so with 3 times 100, which equals 300%, times 5. All right, so then we simplify and find that 3/5 equals 60%. So in other words, they're doing the same thing. They're just keeping the percent until the very last minute. We're using 100% over 1 to multiply because that will give us the same answer as we did before. All right, so go to the bold black here a little bit. I want to move that up. And don't let the percent symbol throw you when you're doing this. It's awful easy to do. All right. Now we have to change a number to a percent, multiply the number by 100%. All right, so what they're saying here, let's just walk through this. I have 1/3. All right, now I need to multiply it by 100% times 100% over 1. That's all it is. Nothing fancy, nothing bad. It's just different. All right, then we're going to go, which equals 100% over 3. Not hard. Now, notice what they did with the math. They kept the percent sign in here because all they're going to do is, and like I said, if you wanted to with this to make it so hopefully the percent sign doesn't confuse you, is you could have your percent sign sitting over here knowing that that's kind of like my label. Now we're just going to do the math of the basics. So we're not going to go any further than the 100 though. We're not going out further. We're going to have a remainder. So 3 into a 10 goes 9, go 3 into 10 goes 3 times, which equals 3 times 3 is 9. So basically this is what they did. See this okay? Okay. So we have 3 into 100%. So that tells me I'm not going to, that percent just kind of puts a roadblock up, so I'm not going to have any decimal issue. All right, 3 into 10 goes 3 times. Bring it down. 3 into 10 goes another 3 times. Bring it down. Now, I'm all done. There's nothing to bring down. I'm not going to bring a percent sign down. It's like a label. So now I have a remainder, so that means I have 1. That came up to here. fraction, 1/3, and I have my label, which is percent. So my final answer is 33 1/3%. And that is what we have for that first one. All right, now, let's kind of slide up a little bit further. A little more difficult one. I'm going to go up even a little higher. Yeah, okay, let's kind of clean this. You can see it. So, write 6/5 at a percent. All right, so I'm going to start off over here. I'm going to put my 6/5. And then I have times 100%. The same thing, 100% over 1. All right, now I'm ready to do the math. All right, I'm not going to do any, notice I didn't change any improper to mixed fraction or anything. I'm just going to do the math. So I'm going to have 6 times 100 is 600% over 5. Basic math. Then I'm going to do the math, finishing it out. And again, my percent sign makes my roadblock. I'm not carrying it out any further. I'm going to keep doing the math. All right, 5 into 6 doesn't go. 5 into 60 goes, or excuse me, time out. I messed up. Let's back that up. I want to do different stuff in there. 5 into 6 goes 1 time. Bring down. 5 into 10 goes twice. Bring down the last 0. 5 into 0 goes 0 times. Bring my label up. Percent, 120%. So my final answer, 120%. Not really too much more difficult, but the key is the percent represents only a label, as well as your roadblock, not to try to carry it out if it doesn't work out evenly. Okay, I hope that is helping you a little bit there. Again, we can walk through any part of it. All right, let me get there with you. And we're going to kind of look at the practice problem just a little bit right here. Now, here is what I'm going to do. These right here are pretty self-explanatory. You can figure these out right there probably in your head. Some of them, though, like C, you cannot because there's nothing you can do. You have to use this process. It's not going to work. All right, so we have 1/6 times 100%. Okay, now, and that's over 1. So now I'm going to go. 1 time, we have 1 times 100 equals 100%. All over 6. Then we're going to go 6 into 100. Put my percent up. Notice it's my roadblock. It's also going to be my label, just like I did before. 6 into 1 doesn't go. 6 into 10 goes once. 6 into 40, because I brought my 0 down, goes 6 times. All right? 6 times, which is 36. Now I have my leftover here, 4. No more to bring down, so I have 4/6, but I'm going to reduce that. Notice I pulled it outside because it's not a reduced fraction, which equals 2/3. So my final answer, 16 2/3% is my final answer. So again, you've got to make sure you're using that. Now, I'm going to show you, with all this done, you get this. This is great. Do it this way. But now, I also showed you this, which I want to make sure we're on board. So I'm going to erase this part over here. And I'm going to walk you through. And you're welcome to do either process that you want to do here. So if I have, for example, the fraction 3/8. Now what I told you automatically, which is what we would use on a calculator and so forth, and this is the way you can do it for how many minutes. This will work, still work, no problem. Please do it. But some of you might say, well, Mr. Wright, there's another way I can do it. And I know, this is the other way you can. I take it, very basic, same thing. 8 into 3, and I put my 2 zeros in, like I said, showed you earlier, for figuring out your grade. This is what the calculator does. And again, you must show your work. If I don't see the work in there, I'm going to ask you probably in your chat sessions. I'm going to say, okay, show me your work for how you found your percentages. And I want a sheet. You're going to have to point to me. If you don't have it, you're going to lose a point off your that lesson. You're going to lose a point for that lesson. So, put my decimal up. 8 into 30 goes. We have a total of 8 times 4, 8 times 3, 24. All right, how many 8s are in 60? I brought my 0 down. Okay, 8 into 60 goes a total of what? We got 7 times, which is 56. Now, this is where I said we have to stop because we have 4, because it's just like the percentage, we stop there because we have our 2 decimal places. So we have 4 eighths, which equals 1/2. So my final answer is 37 1/2%. It's the same process, but this is what the calculator does as well. Because once I have my 2 places for percentages, I can stop. So I would highly recommend you do this because it's much easier to understand. But I wanted to connect to what we've been doing as far as when the calculator and so forth, how you function. Because you type it in first and then divide by 8. So anyway, there's a couple ways of doing it. But again, this is probably my choice way. I would prefer you to demonstrate it. Because it is much easier to follow and a little less confusing. So anyway, if you have questions, feel free to call. And I will gladly help you. We'll talk to you later.